Final Fantasy XIV has a huge problem with the level syncing system, and I think it's about time that it finally got amended. Hey, what's going on, guys? Snivypootis here, and welcome back to the video. Now, I know it's been a while since I made my last video, and that's mainly because I've been really busy with, following the tier and all that stuff. You did see that I posted a POV of my clear of LNS. I know I haven't done M2 or M3 because I just didn't really know if there was much interest behind that. Anyway, that's besides the point. I want to talk to you guys about the one thing that I didn't really think about much, but now I'm in Dawn Trail with level 100 and even more buttons to press, starting to realize that I think level sync in Final Fantasy XIV needs to be revised or something, because think about it, right? You have like all these buttons at level 100 now. Like you got like full on rotation, you got a super cool burst, you have like really flashing moves, all that stuff, yada yada. But now, like, then you have to go, I don't know, you wanted to go do leveling with their friend or something because you want to help them, do their roulettes or something. Then you're back to like, what, 20, 30, 15, and then you have like all those buttons pickled away, and then the whole dungeon is just like, you press 1, or do you press 1, 2, 1, 2, and that's not even taking the fact in of like some jobs don't get their AoEs till like way later. Like I don't think Dragoon gets like the Dune spike until like 42. So yeah, you definitely feel it a lot harder on some jobs more than others. Especially like Black Mage is a great example of this, actually. I know I love talking about Black Mage, but Black Mage is a great example of this because Black Mage at 50 feels awful to play. Black Mage at 60 feels slightly better, but still awful. 70, it feels slightly okay, but still kind of awful. And then 80, it feels great, but could be better. 90 is perfect, and 100 is perfect because because 90 and 100 Black Mage feels so similar to 80 Black Mage, but 80 Black Mage you just have like a couple less things to fill your rotation. But like 70 below Black Mage, you're practically at just fire one spam, and like you don't feel like you're doing anything, and like the only thing that you can guarantee is that, oh, hopefully I can get a Firestarter proc so I can have some extra damage in. Otherwise you're just sitting there casting Fire 1 the whole time. Like even if you get fire starters a lot, it's still not going to be fun because you're sitting there spamming fire, and fire is not a really like interesting looking spell on its own. I know that it's like one of the very first spells you unlock, but still, like it's just boring. Like no one can really argue with that because it's just true. Like, and not even talking about just Black Mage, like Red Mage, Summoner, like Warrior, Paladin, like some jobs don't really change from 50 to 100, but there are some jobs, like again, Black Mage, that just lose so many essential buttons that it just makes the job feel soulless. Like Viper, for example, you don't get your follow-up, like your Serpent's Tail follow-up until level 70 or above. And when you don't have your follow-up buttons for Viper, it feels gross to play because you're just sitting there pressing like 1, 2, 3, but you don't have like your OGCDs to weave in, and like if you don't have Vice Winder, then there's even less stuff for you to weave in, and just less damage overall. So I think that we could really just go back and just make it so that instead of just like, oh, if you're level 20 that you're gonna be like you were if you were still level 20, you can just be you're level 100. Okay, so if you get synced back down to level 20, then you'll still have all your buttons, but it just means that the potency will be reduced and that you won't have like as much damage going out. Because yes, granted, like you may think that, oh well, why would you want to do that? Because then you have like a job at level 15 that has other buttons, and all the potencies are going to be like 1,000, so you're going to be doing way more damage. And it's like, so like, and then that's a bad thing. Like, we don't really need, there's no reason for us to be losing our buttons that we've had if we've already been using them. Like, if they're not going to be doing too much damage, you're not going to be one-shotting bosses at level 20 because you have an ability that you unlock at level 80. Like, that's not how it works. That's why potencies are made the way they are, because they scale down to your, you can still scale down the attributes and keep the damage numbers relatively the same for that level so that you're not overkilling things by a lot, because you're not going to be doing ridiculous amounts of damage regardless. I mean, Picto literally has a Mog of the Ages at like, I think almost at level 30. So like, you're not really, it doesn't really make sense in that case, because like, you know, if you don't want Job to do that much damage, then why have a Job have a 1000 potency move at such a low level, you know? Like, so it might as well just open up all the Jobs to have all their buttons, so that way that, you know, you don't have to basically relearn a job at level 50 or 60, 70, 80. Like granted, for stuff like ultimates, it could be a little bit different, because, you know, if you're doing Uwu, it can make, you know, certain mechanics a little bit more trivial. But I don't really see that as a bad thing either, because like some jobs are straight level unplayable at 70. Like I'm not gonna play Viper at 70 if Monk at 70 has more options. And like the thing about it is that White Mage level 70, they don't even have their AoE a flat as Rapture. They don't have that. And they don't have Blood Lily either, so they have like a lot of damage that they miss out on because they're just playing White Mage at 70. Like, why should jobs be limited like that? We can lower the attributes and still keep the damage at relatively okay levels where they're not doing too much damage for, you know, whatever content that they're doing. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And like I said, and when it comes to ultimates specifically, some jobs are just worse in ultimates because they don't have buttons that make them better at the higher levels. So like, you're stuck with, like, you may think, oh well, yeah, you can still play Viper at an Uwu, or you can still play White Mage in Uwu, but it's like, why would you choose that if you can choose a job that has more buttons and has more, you know, utility probably too? Like, Reaper doesn't get their raid buff until 72. So if you play Reaper in Uwu, then you won't have your raid buff. So it just brings it back to the question. It's like, what's the point of having certain jobs being level synced down if you're gonna be killing their identity along the way? I know that you can't always ensure job identity at every level, but at the same time, like, there's not really any reason for us to not have all our buttons. There really isn't. But that's just how I feel about level syncing. I just don't think that at this current state of the game, it really doesn't matter if you don't have all our buttons or not. I just think it'd be better, because no one wants to play Black Mage at 50 or Viper at 50 or whatever at 50. Like no one's wanting to go back to the olden days just to do their MSQ roulette, you know? Or if they get Alliance Raid roulette and they're like, oh well, I just got my Dredge to 100, but I'm gonna doing a level 60 Alliance Raid roulette because we got Void Arc. So, you know, I just think that hopefully maybe they'll look at level syncing and make it a little bit more bearable when you get to lower level stuff, because like, part of the reason why some people don't like doing roulettes is because, like, if you just got your job to a 90 and you're, oh sweet, I got all these new buttons I want to try, I can't wait to go into some content and see how it plays out, but then you're stuck doing Sastasha, so you can't really use any of them, so you gotta just deal with using your one and maybe like CD if you're lucky. But that's just how I feel about it. I know that not everyone really cares about it, but I just personally think that level sync in Final Fantasy could use some tweaks to make it a little bit less boring at the low levels and make jobs feel more viable in all content, mainly ultimates. But that's all I have for y'all today. Thank you so much for listening to my little rant. I know I've been a little bit slow on uploads, but hopefully I'll pick up the pace along the way. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.